Number 1 ranked welterweight in the world, Mr. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is back on the show with us. First of all, Stephen, great to have you back on the show, man. How's all with you and Simsabel?
Oh, man, doing good, man. Thanks for having me back on. Just here in South Carolina, man. Got done doing some training tonight. It's 9:30 p.m. and on with you, my brother. On with you.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. No more tornadoes. You had a few problems last time when you were on with Ariel.
Man. No more tornadoes. Hopefully not anytime soon. Which never happens. It was weird because we had literally tornadoes back to back. I was doing an interview, and I don't remember who I was doing an interview with
Ariel.
Yeah, man. And next thing you know, everybody's telling us to run inside. It got pitch black, and there was a tornado coming. I'm like, are you kidding me? But always excitement here in South Carolina.
Brilliant stuff. First of all, Stephen, we have to ask, how's the knee? Obviously, you've had a few issues with the knee. Is everything cleared up?
Yeah, everything's cleared up. Going to see the doctor tomorrow. We'll be getting it cleared. Knee's feeling good. Back into training. Got some buddies getting ready to fight. Got a buddy fighting tomorrow night, and a friend of mine fighting on the Ultimate Fighter Contender Series in a few weeks. So, ready to rock and roll, man. Ready to get back out there. Itching at the bits to get back out there and fight.
What's your thoughts on the new Contender Series? It seems to be going in pretty well. It seems to be a good idea. Maybe better than the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, man. I think it's pretty cool. I actually love watching these guys go out there and do work. It gives the fighters too, kind of like, it's almost like a miniature UFC event, basically, because it's at the UFC.
They're getting money, yeah.
Where they had the Tough Series, I believe, for those fights, and they kind of experience what it feels like to actually fight with the UFC. They're in contact with them, negotiating things. Of course, if Dana White, if he likes you, it gives you a contract. So it gives them something to strive for, something to focus on. And it actually, even win or lose, you're still out there fighting in front of Dana White, in front of the UFC. And, if you fight hard, if you're exciting, even if you don't win, you're still there in the back of their head. They could use you down the road, Somebody drops out. Hey, I've seen this kid fight. Let's use him.
Definitely. Have you been medically cleared to return to action, or is that going to happen tomorrow, as you said, when you've a meeting with the medical staff?
Yeah, I haven't been cleared yet. It's been kind of difficult to get in touch with my doctor. He's been traveling a lot, doing surgeries, ACL surgeries. So we finally nailed him down, and we'll be getting cleared tomorrow. I mean, everything's good. I'm back training. And of course, got my training partners behind me. Got my buddy Carl right there. He's going to be fighting here pretty soon. And got my pops behind him.
How's Mr. Thompson going? Good to see you again.
He said, hey, guys.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I want to get your thoughts, obviously, on last weekend's fight. People have been coming out. I thought it was a very impressive performance from Tyron. A little bit of criticism amongst the media and the fans. What were your thoughts on looking back at the fight? I don't know if you've actually seen it. Have you watched it yet?
Yeah, I was actually watching it, man. Talking about the fight with Tyron and Maya?
Yeah.
Well, that's a difficult fight for anybody stepping out there against Maya. And to be honest with you, it was a very boring fight. But I think Tyron did what he needed to do to win. I felt like he could have pulled the trigger a little bit more. And of course, I need to take my own advice when I go out there and fight. Just pull the trigger. And sometimes you want to go out there and do it, and it's kind of an in the moment decision not to. But he got the win. It was a very boring fight. I was getting ready to fall asleep, to be honest with you, watching it. But I think if you face against somebody like Maya, it's going to be a boring fight. Yeah. It will be. He's got one thing he's very good at, and that's the takedown. And if you overextend yourself trying to strike, he'll end up taking you down. He's very good at that timing. And I think that's why he had a hard time getting Tyron down. He's a shorter opponent. Maya's used to somebody, his past few fighters have been taller, so it's easier to get on the legs. And so he had a harder time getting in the legs, and Tyron was just waiting for him to come in to hit him with that uppercut. And I don't know, I kind of felt the same way when I faced off against Tyron. He did a lot of backing up, as he did in this last fight, and he kind of waits, and it makes for a fairly boring fight,
So do you think it's
but
more?
Then again, I should have gone out there and pushed it a little bit more for hours, which I think Tyron could have done that a little bit more against Maya. just let the hands fly. He had him beat. He had him hurt in the first round. Could barely see out of his left eye. But I do feel like he could have gone out there and just let the hands fly.
But sometimes stylistically, would you appreciate that? Obviously, you fought Tyron twice. That maybe it's about just getting the job done, horses for courses, holding on to your belts. Tactically doing the right thing just to get out of there with the victory.
Yeah, man, and I think that's how Tyron was looking at it. Just be able to survive those takedowns and get out of there with the W. I don't think he was out there looking for the knockout. I think if that happened, it happened. But he was mostly trying to wait for Maia to come in so he could land that uppercut, which he did in the first round. So, which made Maia a little bit more hesitant to go for the takedown. Of course, he stuffed 17 of them. That's still a lot of takedowns in a 5-round fight. 17. But Maia didn't do anything else. He just walked forward and looked for the takedown. There was one kick, I think maybe 4 kicks he threw, and that was it. So it was a waiting game. It was basically a waiting game.
Do you think that's a sensible thing for a fighter to do? The way Tyron's conducted himself in his last couple of fights?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Do you think that's a clever way for a champion to conduct himself the way Tyron has, maybe, fighting a little bit hesitantly? Is he on maybe a little bit of borrowed time?
Yeah, man. I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't been in that seat yet. But, of course, you do kind of expect that out of the champion, to go out there and put on a show. And there's a lot of people that just don't like Tyron. I like Tyron. I think he's a great fighter. Thank you, bud. He's he's a father. He's a husband. But at the end of the day, being champion, you got to go out there and put on a show. And you know what? Being that champion, you got to bring a draw. And if you're not that exciting, nobody's going to want to watch you fight.
Definitely. How's it been for you emotionally? Has it been maybe a good thing, sitting on, looking at the division the last couple of months instead of being in a fight camp, getting to see things play out a little bit?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's a lot of fun to actually sit back and just to see where things lie, watch the welterweight, especially the top 5 guys fight. You had Jorge Masvidal fight a few months back against Cerrone, finish him. Saw Robbie Lawler fight, and it's been almost a year since he's done that. So it was great to see him go out there and compete. Watching Gunnar Nelson fight. I mean, the welterweight division is so stacked of just killers, man. Killers. Jiu-jitsu specialists, high-level strikers. And, I'm blessed to be at one of the best in the division, ranked number two ranked guy right now. And knowing that, watching these guys fight have really fueled me and fired me up to be able to get back in the gym and train as hard as I can so next time I step out there, I'm ready.
Jorge Masvidal, you mentioned his name. Obviously, there was sort of a verbal agreement between you two guys, a number of months ago. He said you've been sort of hiding. He put some comment up on Instagram saying that he thinks you're ducking him. Just what's your response to that?
Man, first off, I don't know if he's ever had any knee injuries, but this is my 6th one. I've had 4 on my left, and this is my 2nd one on my right. And being 34 years old, you got to make sure everything's right before you step out there. I'm kind of an observant guy, and I've seen fighters go out there not ready, try and rush it, and then injuring their knee more, and then they're out for over a year, maybe longer. So I just want to make sure everything's healed up. I told him I would fight him, which is something I'm going to do. He's just going to have to be patient. He just wants that fight right then and there. And sometimes you can't do it, When it happens, it happens. And waiting on the doc right now. Like I said, I see him tomorrow. We should be getting cleared. And then hopefully we can talk to the UFC and get something for November. But no, I'm definitely not ducking the guy.
Yeah. Robbie Lawler, Cerrone as well. Would those fights interest you, or is it, is the sole focus on Masvidal now after the comments that he's made?
It would be cool to fight Lawler, obviously, because was the champion for a long time, and I was looking forward to fighting him before Tyron won it. So it'd be cool to step out there in the octagon, but I have been out since last March. I did make that verbal agreement to fight Masvidal, and I'm going to live up to it, and hopefully we'll get out there and be able to do things November. That I'm trying to get on the Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, I was about to say that. You mentioned November.
It's an awesome place. Yeah, man, it's epic. the fight there in front of the New York fans in such a legendary arena was definitely a dream come true, and it would be cool to be able to do that again. But Masvidal is a tough opponent, man. I mean, you saw what he did to Masvidal. I thought he beat Maia when he faced Maia. I think if that was a 5-minute round war, I think he would have had it. He would have knocked him out. But Maia ended up winning, obviously. But yeah, man, he's tough, high-level striker, good Muay Thai, good hands, and power. And the guy's coming up from the 155 division, you know what I mean? So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Well, who do you envisage then? Obviously, you've mentioned, New York. I was there when you fought Tyron. We covered that fight here in Severe MMA. But, who do you think's next in line for Mr. Woodley? What way do you see it panning out? Because it's pretty close. Do you go along the lines what Dana was saying with Robbie Lawler maybe getting the next shot again?
Maybe. I did hear that, which, he didn't get that immediate rematch after defending the title a few times, several times. And there were tough fights. And I think he wanted some time to heal up. If it's anybody in the top 5, definitely he's one of the guys that deserves it. Robbie, I figured he was going to get the immediate rematch. I thought he was going to be facing Tyron again right off the bat, but that didn't happen. I think after the fight with Cerrone, he definitely's got to go back and, work on some things. And being out for that long, kind of got to knock the cobwebs off a little bit. Not saying he's not training, but stepping out there in the octagon is just a different animal. So, yeah, man, maybe I think he should. And I think, a good win over somebody like Masvidal, I'll be back up there in that title contention again.
We touched on the timeout you've had off. Emotionally, has it been taxing? Has it been frustrating? Because you're a pretty mentally strong guy. You've had a few knee injuries in the past, as you've said. Has that been maybe easier to cope with because of those past knee injuries on a mental level?
Oh, definitely, man. The past injuries that I've had, my left knee, I tore every ligament. In my left knee, I was out for 3 years. So this knee surgery compared to it is nothing, This is a piece of cake, a walk in the park. But that said, still want to make sure everything's healed up before you step out there. Tearing the MCL, if you don't let it heal right, it could end up tearing again, and then in the process end up tearing the ACL as well. So that's something I definitely don't want to happen, and which is why it's kind of taking me so long to get back in there. I wanted to make sure that my kicks and my punches, my kicks especially, are on point. And for a while there, I could kick, but I couldn't kick hard. I couldn't really sink in a kick into the bag or into somebody because I could definitely feel it in my MCL. So that was giving me a problem. But the people that are working with me, my physical therapist, has got everything on point. I can kick with it now. I can slam a target. Just got to get that okay from the doctor first. He's going to be looking at it here pretty soon, hopefully tomorrow, and then we'll be back out there. So it was a little frustrating when it did happen. I didn't feel it until about 3 hours after the fight. But I've always been a positive guy, and keep positive people around me. And, I just told myself I'm going to be back stronger and better than ever.
Definitely. And you mentioned another thing the last time we spoke. You said you felt maybe a little bit light going into the cage with Tyron. You mentioned strength and conditioning. Has that been a big focus maybe? Obviously you not being able to use the knee, have the kicks.
Yes. Been focusing a lot on my strength and conditioning because for the longest time, for several months, that's all I could do. I couldn't move. I couldn't kick. Couldn't pivot. So I was focusing more on my strength and conditioning. I do feel stronger, a lot stronger than I was. I haven't gained a whole lot of weight, but you can gain. You can get stronger without gaining weight. Doing your workouts specifically for that, and that's what we've really been working on because those top guys in the division are very powerful, very strong guys, and I've got to be that when I step out there. Not just fast, but strong as well. You have to find that happy medium.
Of course. Just a couple more, Stephen. Stephen, obviously, since the last time we spoke, Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather has been mentioned. I have to ask you that as a guy who's obviously, you've competed in kickboxing, at different aspects. What do you think of it, first of all? Good, bad for the sport?
For the UFC, I think it's great. I think it's great for MMA. For boxing, not so much. It's because for boxing, it just seems like, it wasn't going anywhere. I mean, there's maybe a handful of guys that I would sit and maybe watch them fight in boxing.
I agree.
And I feel that it's bad for boxing because, I don't know, it's almost like a WWE for them. You know, it's like they're struggling to get more people to watch it. And this is them, you know, I guess, I don't know what, you know, trying too hard. I guess they're trying too hard to make, you know, to get people to watch. So they're like, all right, I'll fight an MMA guy. I mean, I think it's, man, of course, it's hard. I would love to see McGregor win. I would love to see this guy go out there and knock out Floyd Mayweather. Never been a big Mayweather fan. But that said, Mayweather's been doing this sport since he was 3 years old. You know, he's been one of probably the best in the world for a very long time in history in boxing, Mayweather.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, he's 40 years old. For the guy's a young 40-year-old. He doesn't take a whole lot of damage. He doesn't look 40, you know. So you know the guy's always he's continuing. He's working out. He's training, and I think it's if Mayweather's going to win, it's got to be in the first maybe 3 or 4 rounds. If it goes any longer than that, I think Mayweather, because I don't see Mayweather knocking out McGregor. McGregor's a very durable guy. Yeah. He's a bigger guy, a younger guy who hasn't been knocked out. You know what I mean? He's not notorious for getting knocked out, so you know he still has his chin. Maybe outpointing him. So it could possibly be a very boring fight.
Yeah.
You know?
A lot of people have said the points. Yeah.
Say that again?
A lot of people have mentioned points in the last few days. Maybe it's sort of a thing. I think maybe we've seen with the sparring, obviously with Paulie Malignaggi, stuff like that. They went 12. There's a bit of war going on Twitter this evening. But listen, we'll get off that topic. One final one for you. Jorge Masvidal, November 4th, Madison Square Garden. Any final words for Jorge?
You know what? You know, he asked for this fight, and it hasn't been confirmed yet. But it's going to be my goal to make sure that happens November 4th. So be ready, baby. Of course, he's saying easy money. Let me tell you, it's not going to be easy.
Brilliant stuff. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, always a pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing you get back in the octagon on hopefully November 4th. Pleasure as always, my friend. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. You have a good one.